Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bellevue City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, September 5th, 2023 at 6 p.m. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. We have Lucas Carlson here from Troop 464, Twin Ridge Elementary. He's going to lead us, and then for the invocation following the Pledge of Allegiance, Reverend Scott Beckenhauer is here from Calvary Christian Church. So please stand.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for today and the opportunity we have to come together. God, and I just want to pause with everybody here, God, and we just want to give you credit, God, for who you are, for doing what only you can do. And God, we just thank you so much for the gifts and abilities and capacities that you've given those who serve our city. And God, the gifts and abilities and capacity you've given those in our city. God, I just pray, Lord, that you would be with the meeting tonight, God, that in all things, God, we would seek to honor you and glorify you. God, I thank you so much that your word tells us that if any of us lacks wisdom, we can turn to you who will give it generously to all. God, and I know I need that as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as someone in the community, God. And so, God, I just pray, Lord, that your wisdom would continue its good work in leading and guiding this council. I pray, Lord, that we would just continue to be a people who, God, in all things, we could keep our eyes fixed upon you. And I thank you, God, that Jesus gave us such an incredible example, God, of someone, it says in the book of John, says that he was full of truth and full of grace. And God, I just thank you for that example, that we can do what's right and give room to those who don't, and that we would figure out that process together, how to make that work. God, and lastly, I would just pray protection over this city. God, time and time again, God, we would just cry out to you and ask for you to just continue to protect this city and the people within it and those who serve it in a mighty way, that you would love and care and extend your grace to us in the provisions that you do in putting your armors around us, protecting us from those forces, both inside and without, God, that could seek to tear us apart. Father, we thank you for this time. Pray that you be with this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Beckenhauer, and thank you, Lucas Carlson, for being here tonight. I'll call the meeting to order. Susan, would you take roll call, please?
Yes. Councilman Casey.
Here.
Councilman Cook.
Here.
Councilman McCaw.
Here.
Councilman Preister.
Here.
Councilman Burns.
Here.
And Councilwoman Welch.
Here.
Thank you. And if you haven't refreshed your computer, please do so now.
Thank you. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act. A copy of that act is located on the rear wall of the council chambers. Item 5, approval of agenda, consent agenda, claims and advisory committee reports. 5A, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Councilman Burns?
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Burns, second by Preister. Any comments or questions? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 5B, approval of the consent agenda. Items marked with an asterisk are approved where this item is unless otherwise removed. Do I have a motion? Councilman Cook?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion. We approve item 5B.
Second.
Motion by Cook, second by Burns. Comments or questions? Please vote.
Just a second. All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 7, we have no special presentations this evening. Item 9, approved citizen communications. 9A is Judith Mancisidor, Safe Haven Baby Box Plan. And for public hearings this evening, communications, please hold your talking points to 5 minutes roughly, and and we'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Council, and citizens of Bellevue. I'm here to propose adding an important piece of comprehensive safe haven plan for children and families in our city. I am recommending placing a safe haven baby box in Bellevue. In 2022, more than 120 babies were surrendered under safe haven laws in the United States. Safe haven surrenders happen face-to-face in emergency rooms, or some are surrendered anonymously through safe haven boxes. The safe haven boxes have silent alarms to alert personnel that the baby's in the box. They're climate controlled. If it's not located in the hospital ER, they're transported immediately by trained staff to an ER. Information is available to mom at a safe haven baby box for her needs, and the infant is in the box for around 2 minutes or less. Next one, please, thank you. In a comprehensive safe haven plan, the most important piece is already established. There are nationwide hotlines, safe haven hotlines. A mom is counseled on all options, and the first goal is to keep the family together if possible. The mom's medical needs are assessed, safe haven locations are given, because face-to-face surrender is best, and resource information is given to mom. A safe haven baby box, however, is a last option and a very necessary option to save some surrendered children when the mom wants to remain anonymous. There are several national organizations that help cities bring live safe haven baby boxes online. I've been talking with National Safe Haven Alliance, Safe Haven Baby Box, and Save Abandoned Babies. The cost, these are estimates that I pulled from the internet, so I will be able to give you more specific costs if there's interest and support, but estimated to be about $11,000 to $15,000 per location. Though this funding can come through the city, contractors may donate their labor, and private citizens, I think, in the city would be willing to donate to this worthy cause. There are minimal costs for annual alarm monitoring, estimated around $300 per year. The benefits of having a safe haven baby box in Bellevue, of course, a safe and healthy community for pregnant moms in crisis, a rise in awareness of the safe haven law and resources for moms in crisis, the most important, saving of children's lives, safety and assistance to moms in crisis, and the city of Bellevue becomes renowned for actively caring for and aiding families and moms in crisis. The steps, there is a Safe Haven, Nebraska law already that allows the surrender of legal surrender of an infant to in-person full-time hospital staff 30 days or younger. There is no provision for a safe haven baby box. That's something I'm willing to talk with you about. Second, funding. We've discussed the ways that can come about. Locations, best practices, put these safe haven baby boxes in a hospital ER or in a fully staffed 24/7 fire station. Some states also have them at crisis pregnancy centers or maternity homes. Training is already in place in Nebraska at the hospitals where babies can be surrendered, and we just need to bring that out to where we do actually put the safe haven baby box. The installation, I've looked at 2 models for safe haven baby boxes and have some contractors. The awareness campaign, the national organizations will be of great help. They add us in the directory as soon as we have a live safe haven baby box. And so any mom calling the hotline would know that there was one in the city of Bellevue, and they help with any other awareness campaigns that we want to do. And then the final step, a live safe haven baby box in our community. I just want to share some recent examples. This is baby Zoe. The Today Show did a piece, a 7-minute clip. She was left in the baby box in Florida, where the fireman who retrieved her out of the box actually ended up adopting her. He was already a foster parent or already on the foster list, and left a note that he would be willing to adopt her, and he did take her home from the hospital 2 days after the mom surrendered her, and he adopted her 6 months later. So there in live living color is what is possible if Bellevue will move forward and place a safe haven baby box in our community. Next page. Just another recent one, Kentucky in February 2023. The baby box was established in December of 2022, and the first infant was left in April of this year. And that baby was in the box for around 90 seconds before she was in the arms of a capable emergency service responder. And finally, the last example, Bloomington, Indiana. Indiana has about 105 safe haven baby boxes. Most of them are at fire stations. In 2023, 6 infants have been surrendered through this safe haven baby box, and 28 since the establishment of the first box in 2017. The next slide is my sources for you, and then the final slide is my question. If you're willing to support a safe haven baby box, just generally exploring that opportunity, I'm willing to write a comprehensive business plan to submit to the City Administrator, Council, and Mayor to begin the process. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Judy, for the education on it and your passion for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Judy, I do have a few questions for you.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So if we are a safe haven state, which I understand that we were, and that's kind of when I went down this road of, if we're a safe haven state and they can take the baby to the hospital, what is the need for the safe haven baby box? Help me
It's
understand.
anonymous surrender, and we know that women desire this because the babies are successfully surrendered at the boxes. There's so much around the woman's situation. It's a matter of privacy.
Okay, so my question is, with regards, and because I had legal look this up and I talked to our fire chief, and our safe haven law talks about leaving the child at a hospital.
Exactly.
So the other states, Iowa, as an example, says you can leave the child at the hospital,
I probably have it here.
healthcare facilities, fire stations, or adoptive service providers.
Right.
We don't have those expansion of that verbiage. So my thought is either go to the state legislature and get them to expand that verbiage, or go to the hospitals and have them install a baby box. Because right now, if we put one in our fire department, we're violating legislative enactment at this moment.
Yes, I left a message for Amy Battalion about this. I am checking with an attorney, and I do believe that the city council, through a city ordinance, has the legal authority to say that an infant can be legally surrendered through a safe haven baby box. I, of course, am still going to the legislature, but I believe it is within your power to make that provision by a city ordinance.
Thank you. And I've looked at the issue, and I think that at this time, the state statutes only allow for legal abandonment of babies in the hospital.
Right, and I think it's something that can be treated through a city ordinance, and I will get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes.
Before you sit down, Mayor, I'd like to ask a question also. So as I look at the state law, it says that an affidavit has to be signed by the mother proving the turnover of her child states that the mother had no way to care for the baby. So with a box like this, which I think is kind of a cool idea, there's no, and if it's all about the mother not presenting herself to somebody and making
Right.
it harder to do that, it sounds like that the current legislation would not allow that because they'd have to
Right.
sign an affidavit.
Ultimately, it's about the life of a child. And so if I plan to address this with the legislature, and as I said, I'm pretty sure the council can address it as well. But this idea is moving forward. I'm asking the city of Bellevue to be the first. I'm also talking with the Omaha Police Department. I will go to Papillion and La Vista. We need to make room for these moms to have this choice to safely abandon a baby with her privacy totally protected.
And just to be clear, I don't disagree with your premise. I'm just saying it looks to me like the current law would not allow that to happen because there's not the ability to sign an affidavit by the mother. I could be wrong. I'm not a lawyer, but.
This current law provides for a face-to-face surrender. There's no option for surrendering without presenting yourself in front of a full-time hospital staff. The baby box saves babies. They've been delivered safely around the country. They're growing in popularity. It's a missing piece of what we need in Nebraska for a full, comprehensive, safe haven plan for our moms and babies. So I agree with you. It's not there yet. We can take action at the city level and at the state level to provide for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item 9B, Steve Spurgeon, acknowledge work of an issue of concern he previously addressed the council with. I don't see Steve in the audience. Is Steve here somewhere? Okay, so we'll go on to number 10, liquor licenses. We have none this evening. Item 11, ordinances for adoption, third reading. We have none. Item 12, ordinances for public hearing, second reading. 12A, ordinance number 4127, an ordinance to adopt the annual appropriations bill. Susan, would you read that ordinance, please?
Yes. Ordinance number 4127, an ordinance to adopt the budget statement to be termed the annual appropriations bill to appropriate sums for necessary expenses and liabilities to provide for an effective date.
Thank you. And I'm going to open the public hearing, but I'd like to start with our finance director, Rich Severson, just to give us a brief synopsis of our upcoming budget that will be discussed over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm Rich Severson, the Finance Director. I'd like to thank the Budget Task Force for helping on this year's budget. That's the mayor, the city administrator, three of the council members, Mr. Cook, Mr. McCaw, and Ms. Welch. And I think they did a pretty thorough job of questioning expenses and the issues around the budget. So we also have, as part of that task force, the police chief, the fire chief, and the public works director. So everybody's pretty well represented when we go look at the budget. There's a lot of information attached to the agenda and out on the city's website under finance, documents, budgets. You can go out there and look at it. It's a lot of pages. Today, however, what I was going to do is just go over a couple of the items briefly. This is what you would have seen in the paper or as a notice of the budget. It just has some high-level things that the state requires you to publish and to notice on your annual budget. What I was going to touch on today is just the very high level, the big picture items. In this budget, year over year, the 2023-24 budget has some increases. However, if you look at personnel, that's a 4.4% increase. Operations is a 5.7% increase. Over the last year or so, we've gone through up to 13% inflation. So I think the city has done what it could to keep those costs in the operations down. Also, the debt service has not, it's actually decreased a little bit year over year. Where the big increase is in capital expenditures. And again, I'll go ahead and refer you to the documents online because it's an extensive list. And if you go out there, you can see on page 8 and 9 is some of the details of all of the items that are in the capital improvement plan, which is also on the agenda for tonight. And then on page 10 are just some of the select high dollar items. But that is really where the increase in the budget is for the next year. And I think you're going to hear more on that. The mayor and others will be able to discuss some of those big dollar items in detail and explain why they really need to be addressed in this next budget. You can see that the total expenditures with that 140% capital expenditure increase, total expenditures went up about 42%. The revenues went up 43%. The net revenues, the revenue that we expect to get in, less the expenditures, we're going to dip into about $3 million of cash reserves. That's the same as we did last year. Our total resources available, what that is the revenues plus the existing cash that we have, and that actually went up year over year by 27 million, 18%. The levy rate, the amount that the city of Bellevue rate on your taxes is it's going to remain the same at 61 cents, the way we have it proposed right now. And that's part of, for most people, 2.1 levy. So this is, less than a third, the city of Bellevue. That levy amount of the tax request that we have in our revenues of 152 million is going up to 34 million from 30 million. That's a 13.62% increase. That is based on the valuations, the total valuations of Bellevue. Those went up 13.62%. And so then the property tax as a percent of these expenditures, it was 27.7% of our total expenditures during this year. Next year, it's proposed to be about 22.2%. So, like the mayor's made it clear, if there's anything that you don't like or you find errors, you'll call the finance director. If there's things in there you like, the mayor's welcoming all of your calls.
I don't remember saying that, but I like it. So I do want to talk a little bit about the capital expenditures because that's obviously where the increase is. We've had numerous things in our infrastructure put off for years, and it's kind of catching up with us. So that investment, again, our operational expenses aren't going up unrealistically at all, but the capital expenditures, some of those costs, Sarpy County is building a $200 million sewer across southern Sarpy County. That's a joint venture by all the cities in the county. And right now it's a user fee based expense. That's what we hope. It's always backed by the taxpayers, of course. But along with that sewer expansion, Bellevue, that's going to open up Highway 34 for future development. And we're already in discussions with a lot of different developers right now. So that whole corridor is kind of an economic engine that we really need to invest in for Bellevue. Right now, we've been pretty content and over the decades of being that small bedroom community. But to get to our tax base, we really need to bring in industrial projects. We need to bring in outside entertainment dollars. We need to bring in some more retail. So that is our whole goal, is to start alleviating some of that property tax that's on our residents. But some of those projects, along with the sewer, we're bringing in water. There's a water main extension to go along with that sewer. That's about an $18 million project. Facility improvement. We lost our south shop due to the floods down off Hancock Street. That's about a $5.8 million improvement. The entertainment district, which I think you've heard about, water park and an auditorium, that's figured in at $5 million. Library, $3.2 million. Parks, playground equipment, shelters, restrooms, $2.1 million. These are all improvements that our budget task force has put on the radar to make sure we get them completed. Streets, reconstruction projects, $11.8 million. 36th Street, the expansion south is $4.5 million. Bridge repairs, $3.1 million. Concrete drainage and overlay projects, $8.3 million. Wastewater, American Heroes Park, we've got a couple projects, got the American Heroes Park going, and Bellevue University is making an investment down there for their athletic fields. That's $1.4 million for the wastewater expansion. Mission sanitary improvements, some of the, actually probably most of the piping, the sewer line underneath Mission Avenue is 80 years old. It's falling apart, so there's 1.2 million in that. Bluff Street, Quail Creek Lift Station, 1.5 million. Total around 70 million, and I think it's about 75 million is, 72 million is the closer number, but then when you throw some vehicles and all the other little items in there, you pick up another $6 or $7 million. But again, that's the vision of the council's improvements to our city. We're investing in the city. So that's where that big number comes from on the capital improvements. Does anybody from the budget committee have any more comments? Okay. Yeah.
I'll just be real quick. Some of these we just got to get done. I mean, and unfortunately, there's some years that we can't even get all of the projects that we want to get done. So I don't know how this will all play out. There's some big dollar projects, that water main that we want to run down Highway 34 with Sarpy County, and the cities in Sarpy County were all part of the sewer coming down because of this plant down south of Bellevue. That's coming all the way across the county. You've seen those big pipes if you drive down like Platteview Road. There's a lot of big dollar projects happening in this county, and it's just because we are the fastest growing county and we're the largest city, and that's why we're seeing some of these numbers. So when we started meeting, it was like, how can we even touch this? But we just thought we'd pick the projects that we thought were truly what needed to be done. We still have a couple more years of big dollar projects. It's not one time and we're done. So I would say if you have any questions to council members, all this data is on the internet, on our website. If you got time, it's a lot of stuff. Call us, let us know, because we still got a couple more meetings to go through before this is finalized. And Rich and his staff, thank you for all the help.
I would just add some of those projects that we're looking for. We're talking to right now south of the base on 34. We are in talks with, this is new development, anywhere from $1 billion to $2 billion of new development for the city of Bellevue. And I believe our total valuation right now is like $5.5 billion. Is that close? So it's almost 40% of our existing valuation that could come into play and help alleviate our tax bills in the future. And in a relatively short time, I'm talking 5 to 6, 7 years. So, Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. I am no longer on the budget task force, so I miss a little bit. Two things that I'd like a little clarity on. One is how the Parks Master Plan fits into the new budget. I see some expenditures for parks. They seem to mostly be in the same few parks. It doesn't really address the Parks Master Plan that I can tell, and in the CIP. So my question is, how does the Parks Master Plan and dealing with parks across the city fit into the budget, including one of the recommendations was for a landscape architect or a administrator or communications person. So has that been put into the budget, and where does the Parks Master Plan fit into it is the first question.
Okay, obviously there's 1.4 million separate to American Heroes Park, which is a park, but then 2.1 million for the additional parks. So getting into the details, I'll ask Jim if he wants to speak to that.
Don, you mentioned the 2 additional hires. We have not added that to our budget for this year. As you can see, there's some things that are for improvements, whether it's American Heroes Park, Stonecroft is adding a restroom, playground equipment replacement in some of the other parks, which are all part of what was identified within the master plan, but not all of that has been incorporated into this budget. So it's gnawing off what we could chew this year. I mean, specifically when you talk about the 2 bodies, we have not incorporated, we have not finalized on how we want to do that within this budget structure. And just timing, it was as soon as we got that plan to turn that around, to put that into our budget with any real thought. We weren't prepared for some of those. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but we've tried to address the most significant issues that we have facing the parks And one of them is the start of an amphitheater in American Heroes. That's flagged in there. I think, what do we got, 650, Dave? And then some of the improvements within the other parks. It won't address like consolidation in the parks. We haven't figured that one out yet either, or what to do with those parks. There's a lot of ideas floating there. What could you repurpose that park as? You know, not apartments and not scooters going in there. It's what else could we use? So do we put a pickleball court into a certain park that's just all green space now, or do we put it all back into a community garden? Those haven't been vetted out yet, so just not timely enough for us to get that done within budget.
Okay. And were the priorities of these particular parks, where we've been already investing, 3 of them in particular, a lot of money, why those were prioritized versus the other 50 parks that we haven't done as much in?
Those have the greatest need. So like with playground equipment, when we replace some of the playground equipment, it's because it's well past its shelf life. And then Stonecroft is because of the amount of use that we have at Stonecroft. It's adding the restroom. You know, earlier this year we had a parking space in there. It turned out to be probably more popular than we thought it would be. So the restroom is the addition to that now. So it's just taking what's the highest priority and what's the highest need. While kind of what we just said is we have a long laundry list of things we're trying to catch up on. So we're taking the greatest need to try to resolve those first and then work our way down through it. So.
Okay. I accept that for now, and I'll continue the discussion in terms of some of the priorities and things that I see a little differently. But the other thing is, I'd like to, and have been attempting to shift some funds to help with some of those park things. And we have not used community betterment money for years for our parks. And each year we keep taking it for LB 840. I'd rather see the 840 money come out of the general fund and use community betterment funds for the parks so that we can help with some of that backlog. So I mentioned that. I'll talk with you more. We've got time on the budget to, just a matter of shifting where it comes from.
And I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, we do have internal conversations that when you get to an issue like this, it's the community betterment fund, that what a better fund to use that for. So if there's enough funding within our community betterment, so while you still keep your economic development for LB 840, is the excess funds we have in there, could we apply to those to some of these projects? And we wouldn't hesitate to do that if that need was there. So it's not off the table.
Okay, I do want to pursue that too. Those are the only ones. I appreciate the administration, the finance department, and all the department heads, and the 3 council members who served on the budget task force. I think you've done a good job. I agree. We've got a big backlog. We've got a lot of things. We're trying to implement a new library, which is long overdue. We do need a consolidation of public works facility, and I'm glad we've got that in the budget. Once we get that done, our city is going to be, in terms of buildings and equipment and care and service to the community, in excellent shape. I think it already is in great shape, but this is going to finish some of those last things, and we have put them off too long. They're only going to get more costly in the future. So let's do it now while we've got some funds and we can do it and save that cost. So thank you.
And I know the budget task force, a lot of that emphasis was not increasing the operational expenses, hiring a lot more people. So, I mean, through discussions, we might find other jobs that we need here, but I know there was a lot of emphasis on not raising that annual expenses for operational expenses. Keep it as low as we can. Councilwoman Welch?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Jim, didn't we also, being on the budget task force, didn't we also have a lot of our projects that we have matching funds that are coming in from some of the national agencies like FEMA and Department of Transportation?
So like when you talk about the South Shop, there is FEMA dollars. We're finding that kind of tricky to navigate, but there will be some matching dollars that we'll be able to pull back from FEMA. And when we look at different projects that we have within parks, we get matching grants that will go to that. there's a lot of discussions on, like even on American Heroes Park, we had an outside source that was looking at actually funding the entire part for the amphitheater and others, but those don't come to fruition in time for budgeting. So there are some back channels we're still working on. If we can get those matches in, more power to us. But there are even I think our library, Rich, was at 750,000 that was granted from the state along with us. So there are funds that have come along. In addition to that, you'll have when we sell the old library, there'll be funds that'll come back available, but that all is basically accounted for. The 3.2 million for the library is what our balance is to finalize the project. So there are funds that will reduce our needs, but some of those are already accounted for.
But the point is, we don't burden our city and our taxpayers with the full cost of it. We do everything we can to find matching funds, grants, outside entities to help contribute to that. And Finance Department does a great job with regards to getting that handled too.
Okay, the public hearing is open, so if anybody in the public would like to come talk about the budget at this time, you're gonna have more opportunities in the next couple weeks, but if anybody has any questions now, they're welcome to come up. Just state your name and address and try to limit any conversation about 3 minutes and we'll be good.
We'll do that. First name Nick, N-I-C-K, last name Gregor, G-R-E-G-O-R, 8104 South 41st Street in Bellevue. Wanted to thank the mayor, the council, and Mr. Severson for the budget presentation so far tonight. I also wanted to thank Mr. Preister for wedging a foot in the door on the master plan for the parks. Some of you may remember me from June. I showed up with quite a few people. We've continued to meet over the last couple of months about specifically the Goldenrod and Gilder Park neighborhood as it came into the master plan with the decommissioning language. We're still here. We're still, waiting for opportunity to, continue to talk and participate in the plan. But what I wanted to come tonight to hear is a little bit more about the budget plan. And as a citizen of Bellevue, I got to say I'm pretty excited about what's been presented tonight, specifically the sewer improvement plan. And, to Mayor Hike's point, essentially adding at least a third to our tax base, right? That's pretty big over the next probably 10 to 15 years. So with the Parks Master Plan kind of lining up to about a 10 or 15 year project, increasing and implement over, that period of time. I just wanted to point out one of the things that stood out to me in the Master Parks presentation in comparison to how we stack up against comparable cities regionally. The thing that stuck out to me in the meeting was that we're spending about $25 per capita in our parks right now, as compared to about $50 per capita to comparable sized cities. And I just wanted to, over the next few weeks, as the council and the budget committee continues to meet and find dollars and cents on the table, kind of keep that in mind. Our community parks are very, very critical and important places. And I'm sure as our city continues to expand along that Highway 34 route, they will have parks that are going to be important to them as well. Our flagship parks are critical. I understand that part of the master plan is to incorporate opportunities for those larger flagship parks to become revenue generators, which would then cycle back into the park system. I think that's fantastic. To Ms. Welsh's point, I'm also excited about the opportunity that there might be some grant money and some other money out there. And I'm not sure, I'm sure it's been discussed. Is there an opportunity for corporate partnerships with our local community partners to have them step in to facilitate partnerships with those larger flagship parks to also help with some of the financing that's out there? So that's basically what I wanted to come up and talk about tonight is, as we're putting dollars and cents on things, there are several neighborhoods out there that aren't asking for a whole lot. And if what we're doing is half of what our competitors are doing or other cities our size are doing, would it be worth 1% or 2% on top of that, $25 per capita to help protect the parks that are already being used and are already important to our neighborhoods?
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Please come forward. Seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing. Third reading will be September 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Item 12B, ordinance number 4128, request to rezone Lot 1 Greg Road subdivision, being a platting of tax lots 2A and 3B located in the northwest quarter of Section 27, Township 14 North, Range 13 east of the 6 p.m. Sarpy County, Nebraska, from AG to RG 20 PS for the purpose of multifamily residential development. Applicant Greg and 75 LLC, general location 1920 Greg Road. Susan, would you read that ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4128, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Bellevue, Nebraska, as provided for by Article 3 of ordinance number 3619 by changing the zone classification of land located at or about 1920 Greg Road, more particularly described in Section 1 of the ordinance, and to provide an effective date.
Thank you. And I will open up 12B for public hearing. If the developer or the applicant is here, they can speak first. Just please state your name and address and sign in.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council and staff. Kyle Vole with ENA Consulting Group, 10909 Mill Valley Road. I'm the engineer on the project. With me also tonight is Willie Douglas, the developer for the particular property. So this parcel is 9.4 acres located on the northwest corner of Highway 75, and it's Greg Road, but probably the major road people are more familiar with would be Cornhusker Highway. So we're on the northwest corner of Highway 75 and Cornhusker Highway. So what's being proposed here on this particular parcel is 156 apartment units. The site has pretty good grade. In fact, it's 85 feet of fall from the western property edge to the eastern property edge. So getting a site plan to work was a bit of a challenge, but we have come up with a site plan that works to accommodate 156 apartment units and meets the city's parking counts. 315 parking stalls are if you go to the second PDF, the second page, there is our site plan. Consists of 6 buildings. With the 6 buildings, one of those is a clubhouse, and we have both the surface parking and then also detached garages as well on this particular site plan. The site is a combination of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. The site flows from west to east. We've got a detention basin in that northeast corner, which provides 210 and 100-year water detention before we discharge into the state right-of-way there. In addition, that provides our water quality as well. A couple other things to point out. So we're construction schedule right now, we're thinking 2024 for grading and starting to go vertical in 2024. It's about a $26 to $28 million investment, so not quite $1 billion, but all the existing infrastructure is in place for the city, so this doesn't require any additional infrastructure. It's an infill project, and looking forward to moving forward with it. This comes with a recommendation of approval from planning, and we'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
It all adds up, and we appreciate your investment. Any questions? Councilwoman Welch.
You knew this was coming. So you have 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms. Help me get a visual as to how they're going to access this apartment complex.
Maybe going back to the aerial would be beneficial. So the main access here, for reference, I guess this doesn't quite go far enough south and west. The main entrance off the highway into Menards is the north-south entrance that turns into this particular location, and then this is about a block east on Greg Road. So a block north of Cornhusker Highway, and then a block to the east.
So it's on the north side of Cornhusker?
North side of Cornhusker.
Okay,
correct.
got it. And then do you know what the rents are going to be for the 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom?
I don't know. Market rate rents. I don't know if you have that completely figured at this time yet, or?
Hi there, Willie Douglas, 21008 Cumberland Drive, Elkhorn. We have Worked with Lund, who will be managing the property for us. They manage other properties for us in Omaha and La Vista area. Will be market rents on all of our units.
Do we know what that's going to be? Because the public watches this,
Yeah.
and when they see a new building
Yeah.
coming in, they get excited about an opportunity, and maybe they could live there.
Yeah, I would tell you right now, market rents are probably $1.35 to $1.40 a square foot. And that's what market rents are right now. They have increased here in the Bellevue area with the recent increases. So that's where we're.
And what's the square footage then of the 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom?
Sure. Our 1 bedrooms will be between 750 and 850 square foot. Our 2 bedrooms will be between 1,000 and 1,200 square foot. And our 3 bedrooms will be around 1,400 square foot.
Okay, and there's obviously garages on the property? Is that what I
There
saw?
are, yep,
Okay.
on the around the perimeter of the site.
And I know people are thinking that we're building a lot of apartment complexes lately, but the vacancy rates are, do you have the number what the vacancy rates are recently?
Yeah, I mean, our last check probably 3-4 months ago when I spoke with Lund about it, they're 3% on it, so the vacancy rates are low.
Very low.
Yep,
Yeah.
throughout the whole metro area.
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Councilman Preister?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of questions, and the project looks great. I like I guess it is on, the concept and some of the amenities that are there. My question is partly to staff, but everything is going to exit onto Gregg Road, and then it's either going out to one intersection that's only about a block long to get out to Cornhusker, or you got to go up to 25th Street. There really isn't an option. I don't think there's an option behind on the north side of the project to get out to 25th, so there'd be a little less bottleneck. My concern is at peak times, when everybody's going home, when school's getting out, we have such a bottleneck in that area. I just don't know what we're gonna do as we add more traffic. Now, it looks like the planning department thinks there's gonna be enough, but at certain times of the day, that's true. But peak times, I don't know how everybody's gonna get through there at those bottlenecks with just Gregg Road, 25th, and then Cornhusker. So maybe you can tell me.
Give you a little bit of comfort.
I'd like it.
So a common misconception with apartments is that they're a huge driver of traffic. So I'm a civil engineer by trade. And so, yes, there's certainly more traffic than, say, just a single family neighborhood, and it's based strictly just on density. But folks are coming and going usually 2, maybe 3 times a day as they're going home from work, going to work, maybe going to the store. It's not a traffic generator like a commercial center. So if you look at the mirrored intersection on the south side, the access road's 2 lanes in and out on the north side, and it's built to that standard because of the Menards, the convenience store, multiple fast food locations on the 3 south side. So by comparison, if you look at the trip generation manual for the 156 units, you're looking at approximately 150 daily trips out of the apartment complex. In comparison, just the convenience store alone in the trip generation manual, 3,870 trips for just the convenience store. So yes, more traffic, but for the use for this location, it's going to be probably the least amount, much less than a commercial use. And then the intersection has sufficient capacity for what's being proposed here because it's built for the commercial on the south side.
Well, that didn't really relieve me. We've got 1 block going from Gregg out to Cornhusker, and I see it, both lanes full right now, and not even at peak times at times. So in the morning, and I completely agree, most of the day it's not a problem. But at those peak times, and particularly when school's getting out too, that area is so congested. And I don't know what Public Works has planned for any future developments, but Angela, I'll ask you first if you have any ideas why this is going to work. I'd sure like to hear them.
when we discussed this in our planning commission, what he said is true, that commercial development does generate more traffic than a residential or multifamily development even. And we did send this out to Public Works to look at. They approved it. I don't know if you want to address any of that, the traffic.
Go ahead. Just
Go ahead.
finish your thought first.
No, it's just that based on that, commercial traffic generating a lot more commercial businesses generating a lot more traffic. We do believe that this will work because multifamily development does not generate as much traffic as you would think.
I appreciate what you said. I'm not convinced yet at those peak times. That's my concern, and in a congested area. So, Dave, I'd ask you, what other plans are being planned for that area from 25th down, well, really all the way almost to Fort Crook Road in that area on Cornhusker to reduce some of the traffic load and the congestion?
Well, a statement first. There are actually three access points there. There's 21st Street, 23rd Street, and then over to 25th Street on Gregg Road. So there's two north and south streets in there, and then one east and west. So there's actually three spots to get out there. But one of the things we are looking at, it's a future project, is improving Cornhusker Road from 36th Street all the way to Fort Crook Road. So those items would be considered at that point in time as well. That's one of the things we've been looking at, kind of our long range with MAPA on. So that would address some of that. And then there probably are some improvements that are needed at Gregg Road and 25th at some point in time, but it's just not been put in the forecast yet. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Casey?
I had the same concerns as Councilman Preister, but curious why we didn't do a traffic study. in consideration of fact, I think Highland Meadows has 198 apartments. So, I mean, combined, you're talking about 350 some apartments here. I mean, I appreciate your comment that the commercial traffic is heavier, but that just seems like a lot of apartments. And you're the expert, you're the civil engineer, and I trust what you say, but I personally change my route every day. I make sure I don't go up Cornhusker during certain times of the day already, and now we're adding more. So just, I don't know what else you can share that you haven't shared, but just a concern.
Yeah, I think probably the issue more is Cornhusker Road as opposed to the access points, because that's where it gets bogged down at. But I certainly hope we do have a plan for Cornhusker Road someday, and that's, I know there is, but it'd be nice to move that up. That's another big capital expense, so. Okay, the public hearing is still open. Is there anyone wanting to speak?
Sir, could we have you sign in and put your address so that...
Anybody else want to speak regarding 12B? Please come forward. You're just signing in, aren't you, Mr. Douglas? Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Please come forward. Seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing on 12B. That third reading will be September 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Item 12B1, request to preliminary plat lot 1, Gregg Road subdivision. And there's no action required on that. Item 12B2, request to final plat lot 1, Gregg Road subdivision. Wasn't that a repeat? I think it was just a doubled up typo there. No action required. And then 12C, ordinance number 4129, request to rezone lots 1 through 6 and outlots A through F, Cardinal Commons addition, being a replat of lots 7 and 8, Old Orchard Place, from AG to RG 28 PS for the purpose of senior housing. Applicant, Excel Development Group, general location South 13th Street and Casper Street. Susan, would you read that ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4129, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Bellevue, Nebraska, as provided for by Article 3 of ordinance number 3619 by changing the zone classification of land located at or about South 13th Street and Casper Street, more particularly described in section 1 of the ordinance, and to provide an effective date.
Okay, I'll open up the public hearing for 12C. Is there anyone here wishing to speak regarding 12C? Please come forward.
I'll make sure to sign in here.
Yep. Same rules.
Yep. Yeah, Connor Menard, Excel Development Group, 8551 Lexington Avenue, Lincoln, Nebraska. So yeah, I'm with the developer of the project. I don't have any maps with me. You can maybe pull it up, or I know there's a final plat in the rezoning, but really it's a perfect fit for the area. As far as it's 62 units of affordable senior duplex housings. The first phase is 18 duplexes or 36 units. The second phase will be 26 units or 13 duplexes. The first phase will have a community building there on the southeast corner. But yeah, that was one of the reasons we chose duplexes for this site. Is just east of there is apartments, and just immediately west is single family homes. So it kind of fits right in the community as far as that missing middle housing. There you can kind of see. Just southwest is Bellevue West High School, catty corner to that, to give you a sense of where the area is. Yeah, a major part of the funding was affordable housing tax credits, very competitive from the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority. So yeah, we're putting in good applications here at Bellevue. Glad that Bellevue's getting it. I know Papillion, Omaha, obviously other cities are getting to the game. So it's getting harder to get projects funded with the scarce resources, but that's what we specialize in as far as affordable housing, workforce housing for cities across the state and the Midwest. So yeah, we're just excited to get this project going. I think it's a good fit for the neighborhood, and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Councilwoman Welch.
So Connor, same questions. Do we know the square footage of are they 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom? Give me more details on these.
Yeah, they're 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, all single level for seniors. They all have a single car garage. They're roughly a little over 1,300 square foot.
Basements?
No basements.
Okay.
All slab on grade. And I know you're going to ask it. Rents are around like $700 to $1,300 a month. They're affordable.
Do the people have to qualify to do that?
Yeah, so at least 80% of the units will have an income restriction on them, like 60% of AMI or less. For seniors, so it's a lot of them on Social Security, things like that.
So do they have to be a certain age to be able to live there if it's senior?
Yeah, so at least one person there will have to be 55 or older.
Okay.
So they are for seniors. 20% they won't have income restrictions or will be market rent, but again, they're not really market rent. They're still $1,300, which is probably cheaper than the previous guy's studio apartment, as you're aware of the crazy rents. So, yeah, we're glad that we've been able to provide this asset for the Bellevue.
There's
community.
a huge need. There's a huge need for it in our city because there's been other developments that have been made and they have filled up very quickly.
Oh yeah.
And so so I'm glad that you guys are doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, the market studies say we can fill it like in a month, but obviously we can't build that fast.
Councilman Preister.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. There's 2 roads going through, one a cul-de-sac and one looks like it comes out onto Casper right through the old Lee homestead. Are both of those going to be private roads, or is one of those going to be the city? I wasn't real sure after I read the report.
Yeah, no, they're all private, infrastructure included. That first road, as far as connecting Casper Street to 13th there, will be built all in the first phase, and then the cul-de-sac will be built in the second phase. But yeah, they're all private.
Okay, so you'll have the additional expense that the city won't. Okay, well, thank you for that too.
Yeah.
One other question, Connor, when are you, if this is approved, when are you looking that you're going to be starting this?
Yeah, if all things, get approved September 19th, so we could, record the plat that week. We're looking to close hopefully by month's end. Really depends on there's some $2 million worth of disaster recovery funds. Speaking of getting other funds for the project, going back from the 2019 floods, that's also included in this project. Would be really the last thing we're waiting on. But yeah, we're hoping to close, end of the month and begin construction. And yeah, a lot of grading, a lot of tree clearing in October.
And just for the council's reference, the Habitat project is going across the street to the south of that one too. So you got two housing projects going there. Any, okay, Councilman Preister.
Mayor, you made me think of Habitat.
See, there you go.
And I'm wondering, can you do any deconstruction? Can Habitat come in and you're going to be removing some barns? They're not in great shape, but a couple of houses. Can Habitat come in and deconstruct any of that? Maybe save you?
That I'm not for sure. I mean, we've spoken with Habitat. We're originally doing a joint rezoning and thing, and they held up on their project to focus on some of theirs in Omaha. But that's something we can definitely look into.
Not a big deal, but
yeah.
If it's possible and it might be beneficial.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the public hearing is still open. Is there anyone else wanting to speak regarding 12C? Please come forward. Seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing, and the third reading will be September 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. Item 12C1, request to preliminary plat lots 1 through 3 and outlots A through D, Cardinal Commons Edition. Just had to read that. There's no action required. Item 13, ordinances for introduction, first reading. 13A, ordinance number 4130, amending sections of Chapter 19 of Bellevue Municipal Code regarding notice procedures for nuisance violations and authorize mayor to sign. Susan, would you read that ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4130, an ordinance to amend Chapter 19 of the Bellevue Municipal Code by amending sections 19-8, 19-14, 19-23, 19-42, 19-52, and 19-95 regarding notice procedures for nuisance violations and to provide an effective date.
Thank you. The second reading and public hearing will be September 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. Item 13B, ordinance number 4131, amending sections of Chapter 29.5 Bellevue Municipal Code regarding notice procedures for nuisance violations. Susan, would you read that ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4131, an ordinance to amend Chapter 29.5 of the Bellevue Municipal Code by amending Section 29.5-9 regarding notice procedures for nuisance violations and to provide an effective date.
Thank you. Second reading and public hearing will be September 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. here in the chambers. Item 13C, ordinance number 4132, request to rezone lot 144, Nob Hill from BG to RS 84 for the purpose of an existing single-family residence. Applicants David and Deborah Rospierski, location 610 Nob Hill Terrace. Susan, would you read that ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4132, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Bellevue, Nebraska, as provided for by Article 3 of Ordinance number 4104 by changing the zone classification of land located at or about 610 Nob Hill Terrace, more particularly described in Section 1 of the ordinance, and to provide an effective date.
Thank you. Second reading and public hearing will be September 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. Item 13D, ordinance number 4133, request to rezone lot 1 College Apartments Edition from RG8 to RG8PS with site plan approval for the purpose of multifamily development. Applicant Elevate Lofts LLC, general location 400, and I believe that should be East 19th Avenue. Is that? It is west. Not sure that's right. Is it? Is it west? Franklin's. It is west. Okay, never mind. East. So general location 400 West 19th Avenue. Susan, would you read that ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4133, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Bellevue, Nebraska, as provided for by Article 3 of Ordinance number 4104 by changing the zone classification of land located at or about 400 West 19th Avenue, more particularly described in Section 1 of the ordinance, and to provide an effective date.
Thank you. Second reading and public hearing will be September 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Item 13E, ordinance number 4134, compensation ordinance as updated. Susan, would you read that ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4134, an ordinance of the city of Bellevue, Nebraska, classifying the employees of the city, fixing the ranges of compensation of such employees, providing a pay range schedule, providing for publication in pamphlet form, repealing ordinance number 4125, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. And Councilman Cook.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a request to, I'll make a motion that we waive the rule requiring 3 readings, hold a public hearing, and vote after the public hearing at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Motion by Cook, second by Preister, to suspend the rules, hold public hearing tonight, and vote after public hearing at tonight's meeting. Any comments or questions on that? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. I will open the public hearing for 13E. If there's anybody here wishing to speak regarding 13E, please come forward. Anybody wanting to speak? Seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing and I'll take a motion. Councilman Cook.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion we approve ordinance number 4134. Second.
Motion by Cook, seconded by Casey. Any comments or questions? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 14, public hearing on matters other than ordinances. 14A, request approval of event license application for Bellevue Community Foundation to hold annual Old Town Trick or Treat event on Sunday, October 22nd, 2023, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Mission Avenue from Washington Street to Hancock Street, Franklin Street from 20th to 23rd, and Jefferson Street from 20th to 23rd, and to waive the application fee. And I will open up 14A for public hearing. Is there anyone wanting to speak regarding that? I just add, Margie Guy ran that for, I don't know, maybe 10 years, and she moved out of the area, and the Bellevue Community Foundation picked it up, and it's well attended, and I want to thank the foundation for picking that up. Anybody else want to speak? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion? Councilman Burns?
I move that we approve item 14A.
I'll second that.
Motion by Burns, second by Welch. Any comments or questions? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. 14B, request to approve the fiscal year 2024 through 2029 capital improvement plan, applicant City of Bellevue. And still open for public. So I'll go ahead and open up 14B for public hearing. Is there anyone wanting to speak regarding the capital improvement plan? Please come forward. Seeing nobody, I'll close the public hearing. And Councilman Preister?
Thank you, Mayor. Because the capital improvement plan is connected to the budget and everything requires a budget, we in the past have carried this over to go along with the budget. So I'd like to make that motion that this be carried over to the January 26th meeting and follow the budget.
Not January.
Oh, really getting ahead of
Ahead of
myself. September 26th. We're not going to drag it out too long.
I'll second that motion.
So motion by Preister, second by Welch to carry 14B forward to the September 26th meeting. Any comments or questions? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 14C, request for a conditional use permit for Lot 1, First Presbyterian Church of Bellevue for the purpose of a 165-foot monopole tower. Applicant New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, general location 1220 Bellevue Boulevard South. And the applicant has withdrawn the application, so there's no action needed on that. Item 15, resolutions. We have none this evening. Item 16C, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the statement of work with Traliant, extending the contract for the city's harassment and discrimination training software in an amount not to exceed $5,015. Do I have a motion? Councilman Casey?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion to approve item 16C.
Second.
Motion by Casey, seconded by McCaw. Any comments or questions? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 16D, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the proposal with Hymas Corporation to perform storm sewer replacement for emergency repair at 601 Bellevue Boulevard North in an amount not to exceed $72,835. Do I have a motion? Councilwoman Welch?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Make a motion that we approve item 16D.
Second.
Motion by Welch, seconded by Preister. Any comments or questions? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 16E, approve and authorize the mayor to sign the SEI proposal for the installation of a monitoring system for the new library in an amount not to exceed $130,947. Do I have a motion? Councilman Cook?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion we approve item 16E.
I'll second that.
Motion by Cook, seconded by Welch. Any comments, questions, discussion? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 16F, approve and authorize mayor to sign the acceptance of an emergency purchase of a new service vehicle lift from the Danielson Tech Supply for Fleet Department in an amount not to exceed $14,911.41. Do I have a motion? Councilman Casey?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item 16F.
Second.
Motion by Casey, second by McCaw. Discussion, questions? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 16G, approval of the redevelopment agreement and redevelopment promissory note with Cardinal Commons 1 LLC, allowing up to $280,000 plus accrued interest to offset TIF eligible expenses for the purpose of an affordable senior housing project. Motion? Councilwoman Welch?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Make a motion that we approve item 16G.
Second.
Motion by Welch, second by Burns. Any comments or questions? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 16H, approve and authorize the mayor to sign a purchase agreement for Bodner property located at 202 East 13th Avenue in an amount of $230,000. Do you have a motion? Councilwoman Welch?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Make a motion that we approve item 16H.
Second.
Motion by Welch, second by Burns. Any comments or questions? Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Item 17, administration reports. Comments must be limited to items on the current reports. August report is attached. Are there any comments or questions? Councilman Preister?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to thank all the department heads and the administration for doing this. I know it's a little extra time, but it's information for the public to see what's happening and how our city is moving forward. It's, I think, a very good report. It's been updated from those of the past. Hopefully it's streamlined and works well for everybody to minimize their time involved. But I do appreciate seeing it, and it, I think, is very instructive. I've had some of the citizens comment on it too, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, those will be put in the record. We have no closed session, so I will take a motion to adjourn. Councilwoman Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Welch, second by Preister. Please vote.
All voting yes, motion carries.
All right, thank you, everybody. Lucas, if you want to come forward.